Hello, friends. Good evening. A very warm and hearty welcome to all of you. On behalf of English Language Teachers Association of India, one of the oldest, the largest, and the most vibrant organizations of English language teachers, today is the 25th session of our webinar series. And once again, I welcome you all to this very wonderful session. Today, we are going to talk about speaking your way through. And we have an eminent speaker, a great person, Professor Thiruvenkat Swamy from SSN College of Engineering. And he's accompanied by his two students, very promising students, Ms. Sanjana and Ms. Shweta. This webinar is specially for students, but of course, our life is incomplete without students. So once again, I welcome the speakers, Professor Thiru sir, his students, Shweta and Sanjana. Once again, I welcome you all. And now I request Javier sir to play the video of ELTAI, that is English Language Teachers Association of India. This video will introduce us, the ELTAI platform, the activities of ELTAI. Over to Javier sir. Thank you. Now I would like to introduce today's esteemed guests, today's speakers. First, Professor Thiru sir, who is fondly called as Thiru sir. Dr. S. Thiruvenkat Swamy is currently a professor and head, Department of English, SSN College of Engineering, Chennai. He has many degrees like MPhil, PhD, PGCT, PGDT from IFLU, Hyderabad. At the same time, he has GDE from University of Birmingham. He is a recipient of the British Council Scholarship to pursue his master's at Birmingham. He also attended a workshop on online techniques for ELT at Salzburg, Austria, sponsored by the USIS. He was formerly a professor of English and head Department of Humanities, National Institute of Technology, Warangal. In all, he has taught for 40 years. Other than teaching, he has industrial experience in the areas of e-learning, banking, and aviation. His academic interests lie in the areas of teaching and testing of spoken English and also teacher training. He coordinated a series of teacher training programs for English language teachers from Tamil origin in the plantation sector of Sri Lanka from 2006 to 2008. At SSN, he conducts a teacher training program for the school teachers drawn from the rural schools, which is an annual event. He has published 15 papers in national and international journals and presented papers in more than 100 conferences in India and abroad. He has produced 2 PhDs from NIT Warangal, and he is guiding 2 scholars for PhD under Anna University. He loves traveling and has traveled to countries on both official work and holidaying. Such is the esteemed guest of today. And today we have 2 student speakers. It is going to be a very, very interactive session, webinar. So first we have Sanjana Sumant, who is an engineering undergraduate student majoring in electronics and communication at SSN College of Engineering, Chennai. She is a very promising student, as I said earlier, and she was the head girl and vice president of the Rotary Interact Club in class 12. During her undergraduate studies, she has participated in several club activities such as the Development Sale, Design Club, and Music Club. She has also worked as a marketing intern for Kevin Care Private Limited and campus ambassador for Gen Next Education. She is a trained Bharatanatyam dancer and has been learning this art since the age of 6. She is passionate about integrating business and technology and hopes to pursue a career doing the same. Welcome to Sanjana Sumant, and we have yet another student speaker, Shweta Selvanayagam. She is the daughter of Mr. Selvanayagam, who is an advocate, and Mrs. Punitha Valli, who is a homemaker. She did her class 11 till 12 from Maharshi International Residential School near Chennai. Fascinated by technology and products, she decided to do a undergraduate from SSN College of Engineering, and she majors in electronics and communications. Over the due course of last 4 years, she has gotten herself involved in a lot of interdisciplinary organizational activities, competitions, etc., by associating herself with the various clubs in her college, such as the Digital Newsletter Club, the Teacher School Club, etc., wherein people go around and teach the underprivileged children of government schools. Dear friends, the esteemed speakers of today are going to have interaction and deliberations on speaking your way through. Dear friends, today we find that there is digital divide. The people who have the knowledge of technology, the gadgets and devices, and the people who do not have. The people living in the rural areas and the urban areas. The digital migrants and the digital natives. This divide has been affecting us for a very long time, and hence we find there is India on one hand and there is Bharat on the other hand. It is very, very necessary for we, the teachers, to understand the perspective, the problems faced by the students, and at the same time, the students also need to know the perspectives of the teachers, the hardships that they face, or the expectations that they have. Hope we'll have deliberations on all these issues today, as we have speaking your way through. So 2 points of view are going to be there, and it's going to be a very lively and interactive session. So now I request today's chief guest, today's main speaker, Professor Thiru sir, and his students to take the charge and have the interaction, live interaction. Over to Thiru sir.
Good morning.
On behalf of LTI family, I welcome Thiru sir, and I request to take the charge of this session.
Good morning once again to all the participants, which comprise, I understand, students and teachers from different parts of the country. The topic of the seminar, you all know, is Speaking Your Way Through. And the objective is to understand students' perspectives regarding how spoken English is acquired, what are the related problems, and other issues. We have had a lot of research inputs and evidences in the area of SLA, second language acquisition, production of materials for teaching English, innovative methods in teaching English in the classrooms, including application of technology. But still, teaching spoken English remains an area which needs to be further explored. In today's session, we are trying to understand the views of students who are not ELT experts, but they have keenly acquired English language in the past 18 or 19 years of their life, and I'm sure they have lots of valid experiences to share. So we have with us, as was already introduced, Sweta Svelunayagam and Sanjana Samanth. We'll now begin with this question to Ranjana. One second, I think I'll take my PPT. I hope the PPT is visible.
Yes, sir, it is.
Well, it is needless to point out that spoken English has become very important today. Some of the reasons why it has become so important is it is looked at as a vehicle for employability. It's also a language of academics. Either students wants to pursue studies in India or abroad, English language has become a very important tool. It's also important for social upward mobility. I'm sure you'd agree with me if I say that it has become the language of the elitist class in countries like India. And it becomes important to know the language for social status or social upward mobility. For traveling, also we need English. Now, I would like to ask Sanjana, will you please tell us how you learned spoken English?
Yes, sir. So good evening, everyone. My name is Sanjana Suman. And so I've grown up in Chennai, and until the 3rd grade, I studied in a school called Lady Andal. Following that, I joined Shishya, and I continued to study in Shishya till the 12th grade. And I definitely think that my school had a major role to play in my grasp of the English language. Firstly, the mode of instruction was in English, and my interactions with my fellow students, with the teachers, and even my family has always been in English. So I think inculcating the practice of speaking in English for several years now has led to my current proficiency in the language.
To what extent do you think your school or the English classes in both school and college have helped you in acquiring the language?
The English classes have definitely helped me. So me personally, I didn't treat the class as a class per se where I would write exams and obtain marks. It was a platform for me to improve my reading and listening and speaking skills. And I definitely found it very, very useful to sort of build a foundation and also improve upon my existing skills over the many years.
So you said that you learned more from your environment, family, friends, school, and the so-called urban environment. Is it possible for a teacher to create this environment in the classroom for the promotion of language teaching to take place?
Yes, sir, definitely. I think the environment plays a major role when it comes to encouraging students to speak in English. And I think spoken English is a skill, and like any other skill, you need to have constant exposure to be able to develop it. So, to be able to be exposed to speaking English on a daily basis, I think the urban environment definitely helps with that. So.
Well, do you think students who have good proficiency in spoken language necessarily come from families where they speak in English at home?
No, sir, I don't think that's necessary. I mean, me personally, I prefer speaking in English, but I have a lot of friends and I know a lot of people who are fluent in more than one language. They speak in their native language at home, but at the same time, they're very, very fluent in English as well. So I don't think that's a necessity.
So do you think that people who don't speak in English at home can also acquire spoken English to the extent of their counterparts who have had that benefit back home?
Definitely, sir. I mean, it depends. I think if in a school, if the school or the university, wherever they study, if it provides a conducive environment where they're able to acquire and sort of all-round skills when it comes to English in terms of listening, speaking, writing, I think they don't necessarily have to speak English at home as well. I think they can, be fluent in 2 languages. I think that's very possible.
I'd also like to ask you about the rural students. I'm sure you have students in your class who come from rural areas.
Yes, sir.
When they come from the rural areas to a city like Chennai and study in the urban environment, do they tend to learn English faster than what they did when they were back in their own village?
Yes, sir, definitely. I mean, I've seen my own classmates who have grown and developed their English skills over the last 4 years. And I think being in an urban environment definitely sort of pushes them to go out of their comfort zone a little bit. And they become more confident with speaking in English. And they definitely, yes, sir. So, and I think my classmates, I mean, this is what I have seen in at SSN. A lot of the rural students have in fact become quite good at speaking English over the last 4 years, and a lot of them have even obtained very good jobs via placements.
Sanjana, let me try to understand what actually you mean by urban environment, which has made the rural children acquire English language. Just because they came to Chennai, can you talk about what kinds of things in the educational system at Chennai actually helped them to acquire English, which they perhaps did not have back in their own village?
Yes, sir, definitely. So in Chennai, I think at least in SSN, most of the classes are conducted entirely in English. So I think, especially in a city, when there's so much diversity and there's so many different people from different places and backgrounds, I think knowing how to speak English becomes, at least basic English, becomes a necessity. I mean, in order to be able to communicate with different people. And in Chennai, for instance, like in SSN, there are students, I'm saying in one classroom, there are students from an urban background, there are students from a rural background. So for all the students to interact with one another, there needs to be a common mode of communication. So I think that definitely pushes the rural students a little bit more to, they sort of become a little more comfortable with time. Definitely, initially, I understand that it might be a little difficult, but with time, they definitely become more comfortable with it.
Thank you, Sweta. You're trying to say that the environment in the college here forced them to speak in English. There were occasions where they couldn't talk to some of their classmates in languages other than English. So
Yes,
there was a necessity for them.
It made them more comfortable, yes, sir.
Plus, also, they saw lots of students talking in English, therefore, they felt it was a common thing to happen, which
Yes,
perhaps
sir.
was not happening back in their own schools in the rural areas. All right,
Yes, sir.
I'm sure they have. Do you have any suggestions for improvement of language instructions in the schools in the rural areas?
Yes, sir, definitely. I think there is a lot of scope for improvement. Firstly, I think the mode of instruction should be mandatorily made in, I mean, it should be English. I mean, when I say mode of instruction, not just the interaction between student and teacher, but also among the students themselves. Secondly, I think technology is everywhere. So I think they can take advantage of technology when it comes to learning. And thirdly, just good English language teachers to be able to bring out the best in their students.
So we need good English language teachers in the rural areas. We need application of technology, and the students should find a conducive environment to speak without any inhibitions.
Yes, sir.
All right, now let's turn to Sweta. I would like to now ask Sweta, did you have a different experience in learning to speak in English from what Sanjana's experience was?
Yes, sir. My experience learning English was totally different from what Sanjana had gone through. I come from the small town called Kallakurichi, and I studied there until class 10. Even though I studied in an English medium school, I didn't have many opportunities to communicate in English with people. The environment at both home and school wasn't as conducive. I could read, write, and listen to in English very well, but I realized that I couldn't talk in English with the level of fluency that is desired only after coming to this international school for class 11 and 12. So that's where I majorly learned English and primarily by communicating with my peers who were from all parts of India and some people even from other countries.
What do you think was exactly different about your school in Chennai, which made you go through a process of self-reflection and understand your language deficiencies and develop a motivation to start developing your skills in English, and all that was not there in Kallakurichi?
So as I already mentioned, I could read, write, and listen to in English very well. And that gave me a false sense of comfort that I could also talk in English whenever that was necessary. But it wasn't the case. When I came to this international school, my fluency was actually put to test because I had to talk in English with everyone. I had no other choice. And they were a level above me. Just one step higher so that I could be inspired and learn from them, but not too good that I was intimidated by them. So that was lacking in my school back here because we were all at the same level and there was a complacency set in. When I went there, it all became very obvious and self-reflection happened, sir.
See, what you say make me understand that in your environment, there was an opportunity for using language a level higher than your present level of language.
Yes, sir.
Which was not there, and the compulsion was also not there back in your older school.
Yes, sir.
So if teacher sets in an environment in the class where the students feel challenged to move to a higher level of spoken ability, then they would be able to come out and improve their spoken English.
Yes,
Students
sir.
need a kind of a challenge in the class.
Yes, sir.
They need a certain input in the class which will be higher than their own level, and they have to have the motivation to rise up to that level. All
Yes,
right.
sir. Yeah.
Now, who was primarily responsible for creating the environment for you to acquire spoken English? Do you think teachers, friends, parents, or the environment itself?
So not parents, because my parents themselves cannot talk in English all that well. And whatever formal English I've learned over the years, I've learned it from teachers through the subject material, the synonyms, antonyms, etc. But the conversational English that I've developed and the fluency that I've attained over the years were primarily because of my friends and the environment. Friends, because you talk to them and just pick up with practice. And I also majorly learned a great deal of English by watching a lot of English movies with subtitles. That helped a lot.
What about the teachers in the classrooms?
Teachers in the classroom, yeah, as I've told, they teach. Many teachers also encouraged me to participate in other extracurricular activities that led to my language development, like jams, debates, public speaking, etc. But not all teachers, and they taught. As I said, I learned formal English from them, how words and its meanings, prose and how to understand them, poem and how to understand them. But I don't think I learned English as a skill or a language, but mostly subject from teachers. So yeah, that.
All right. You learned about the language, but you did not learn how to use the language. That's what you mean.
Yes, sir, as a skill.
All right. So perhaps the implication for us is that we should enable the children to use the language in the classroom.
Yes, I get
rather than telling them what the language is about. All right. What do you think is the role of self-reflection in developing one's language proficiency? Self-reflection means discovery of your own drawbacks in English or strengths in English. How does that help acquire spoken English?
So self-reflection is pretty much everything, right? If you don't self-reflect and gauge it for yourself, you'll need an external factor to show it to you. In my case, it was my transition to my senior secondary school to an international school. But if I had been actively gauging where I stood, then it would have led to faster and quicker improvements. And it would have saved a lot many years of not learning English sooner, and I would have been better now. So I think people should actively introspect themselves to gauge where they are. And it's very
I
important.
quite agree with you, Sweta, that self-reflection is very important in the process of enhancing our skills. But who has helped you to go through this process of self-reflection better? In the sense that when you self-reflect, what are some of the parameters on which you will self-reflect? If you are self-reflecting on your spoken ability,
Yes, sir.
what will come to your mind?
So
Is it something that you yourself evolve for yourself, or teacher has set you some parameters to think about?
So my self-reflection majorly happened in my international school, right? And there, as I communicated with people, it was obvious how better they were than me in terms of the words they used to convey what they thought, and in terms of grammar, everything, etc. So when I lacked the certain things there, I would just go back and practice a lot and find it for myself online or whatever. And teachers also played a major role in self-reflecting. You know, when they put you on spot to speak before people, you will and you talk and you learn about yourself a lot, and they also give you feedbacks as to what you have to improve in terms of language or fluency, or just making it more understandable. And many teachers have helped me a lot in this regard.
Thank you, Sweta. I understand you need to know some other parameters for assessing your own spoken English, or perhaps fluency, your grammar,
Yes,
your pronunciation, the kind of words you use, and all other related stuff. Once we have these parameters in mind and go through a process of self-reflection, perhaps that will be more productive than self-reflecting without any of this criteria in mind. All
Yes.
right. Now, you talked about the subtitles and films.
yes, sir.
How do what kind of skills do you really gain by watching films or TV shows?
So English language as such is quite tricky because the pronunciation is tricky. The famous example goes how cut and put, even though they are spelled in the same way, they're not pronounced the same way. And for non-native speakers to learn this all one by one, it is very difficult. So when you learn English informally in a conversational context that happens in a movie, it becomes more easy, and you also get to learn a lot of other words. Like if you Google a word for yourself, a very fancy word that you wouldn't use in everyday life, it is not a big deal. But when you learn new words in conversational context, you tend to use them. And subtitles, because as I already told, pronunciation is tricky, and sometimes you may not be able to follow it. And when you watch the subtitles, it reassures you that it is the word you think that is right. And it makes it easier for you to learn and internalize the word and the language as such.
Thank you. Very useful insight, Sweta. What kind of suggestions will you offer for improving the environment in the classroom for promoting spoken ability in students?
So I would majorly suggest two things. If I had been taught the importance of English when I was younger, as to how it will help me in the long run to go to new places and talk to new people, or help me get a better job, I might have learned the language better. But mostly it comes across as a strict rule or threat, like if you talk in Tamil, you will be fined 5 or 10, and it doesn't really help in the long run. I think students have to be intrinsically inspired to learn the language. And apart from that, most schools these days treat English as just a subject where you score, read, and gain marks. But I think it should be so much more than that. They have to be involved in a lot of practical activities like jams, debates, and Toastmasters clubs that we already talked about. And yeah, it should be the learning process should be more like this.
Well said, Sweta. First of all, students need to know why they need to learn English.
Yes, sir.
The purpose is not clear as long as the students are in the schools and they don't really know why they are learning. Perhaps now you know that you are learning for getting a good job, facing an interview, and several other things that you need to do in society. So students need to be enlightened or taught on why they are learning English language. Secondly, rightly pointed out, they have to be inspired by their intrinsic motivation. And you cannot force them with fines and other punishment that they should speak in English only in the classroom or something, which sadly takes place in certain schools or colleges across the country. And finally, you also talked about the assessment system. Perhaps in English, everybody gets 80 or 90, and it is something that is taken for granted. They would not fail in English at all. And 90% in English does not really reflect what their proficiency levels are. Therefore, people feel very complacent and they don't want to spend any time in improving the language. Thank you, Sweta. Now, coming back to Sanjana again. See, it's a very big problem in the country with respect to English language teaching, where all of us are focusing on students who are lower in their levels of proficiency. And we do get a sizable percentage of students who already come into the classroom with very high levels of language proficiency. If you measure them in the CEFR scale, there are many students who are already in the C2 level, which is fairly a very high level, almost the level at which some of our teachers are in. And we leave it to their own selves or their own good luck to further improve, or we think that they don't have to improve any further. What do you have to say, Sanjana? I think you are one such C2 level student.
Yes, sir. So I think that English learning is a lifelong process. I think there's a lot to learn, and I think although we reach a certain level of proficiency, it doesn't end there. I think there's always scope to learn and grow when it comes to speaking English. And I definitely agree with this, sir. Like more focus is given to students who are at lower levels of proficiency, which is completely understandable because I mean they need more help. But for the students at the high levels who tend to feel a little left out, as though there's nothing that they can gain from the process. So I think for this issue, I think one thing that can be done is the students at a higher level of proficiency can in fact assist the teachers when it comes to preparing content and preparing material for the classes, and they can also help in teaching the students at lower levels. So in that way, I think everybody benefits from the process because the students at lower levels also can improve their skills. At the same time, the students at higher levels of proficiency can also benefit from the whole experience by means of assisting the teachers and also teaching themselves.
Excellent idea, Sanjana. The students who are at higher levels of English can be used by teachers to teach other students who are weaker.
Yes.
In the process, these students get an opportunity to teach. And there can be nothing better than teaching someone English for learning one's own English.
Yes,
wonderful. Sir. Plus, they also gain some experience in doing something. Now, shall I ask you, if you have to design a syllabus for those who are already high up in their language proficiency, what kind of syllabus can we draw for them, or what do they need to learn? What are their needs?
So I think the students at a higher level of proficiency I think they're reasonably comfortable with speaking English, but where there is scope to grow are things like vocabulary and pronunciation and also grammar. And I think when it comes to vocabulary, things like idiomatic use of the language and collocations and things like that, definitely there is scope for development, sir.
Can you talk about what you mean by an idiomatic use of language, and how does that become a necessity for a C2 learner? C2
yes, sir.
English.
So when I say idiomatic use of language, I mean there are different ways of conveying the same message. So as against saying one thing in a certain way, which is the way that most people would say it, I think there are there are different ways of conveying the same thing. For instance, I recently attended an interview where the person before me came out looking quite happy, and I, on the other hand, was very nervous. And so I asked him whether he had any heads up for me. So heads up here is the idiom that I used, and I think, and it essentially means, do you have any information that I should know in prior, or any warning or caution for me? So
Excellent.
I think, yes,
Wonderful,
sir.
wonderful, Sanjana. I'm sure when you ask somebody, do you have any heads up for me? That expression is so precise and so expressive, far better than asking him, do you have any advice for me? How was your interview? Can you give me some clues? This idiomatic expression definitely makes it much better. Now I understand, like heads up for me, there are a whole lot of idioms which the higher level learners of English, the so-called higher level learners, might not know. By introducing them to such idiomatic expressions, perhaps a good collocations and appropriate vocabulary can be one agenda which can be prescribed for the C2 level learners. Apart from vocabulary, is there anything else that you think the higher level learners need to learn?
Apart from vocabulary, yes, sir, there's pronunciation also that's quite important, because I mean, there are different ways, there are variations when it comes to pronunciation, but although we're at a certain level of proficiency, we're not essentially native speakers. So I think there are people who still struggle with pronouncing certain words, and there are still people who say certain words in the wrong manner. So I think that's again something that can be improved upon.
All right. So we have some inputs from you for what we can do for higher level proficiency learners of English with respect to spoken English. We can take them towards advanced methods of vocabulary.
Yes,
we can teach them more subtler nuances of pronunciation. Fine. We have talked about all this. Now I would like to address a few questions to both of you together. There is a view by teachers as well as employers and people in public that we should speak like a native speaker all the time. What do you have to say about it?
No, sir. I don't think we necessarily have to pronounce like a native speaker all the time. I think it is enough to pronounce it to a level where it is intelligible to your listener. And even though if you want to put in extra efforts to pronounce like a native speaker, you don't have to mimic the accent of a native speaker. It comes across as very artificial. So my answer is a no.
What about you, Sanjana?
Yes, sir. I also completely agree with Shweta. I don't think mimicking the accent is necessary, and I don't think it's mandatory to speak like a native speaker. But I also think that that can be the end goal. I mean, that can be something that we can strive for, but I don't think it becomes a major blunder if we don't speak like a native speaker all the time.
All right. Can I sum up both your views like this? It is important for us to be able to pronounce in a way where people understand. We should be intelligible initially. And after we attain that intelligibility, if possible, we can strive towards further refining our pronunciation towards the native variety or a better variety.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
We are not harping on native variety as the variety that we should acquire. What is more important is that we should be understood. Intelligibility. All right. Now, we have seen that English has made lots of adjustments and allowances. There are several words which are not allowed to be used in the past, which have become part of the English language vocabulary now. There are also certain other deviations. For example, when I used to teach in 1980s, the word like prepone was considered a mistake to be used. We used to tell the students they have to use the word advance and not prepone. And today we find prepone entering the dictionary. Thanks to corpus linguistics and several other technological researches available, people are trying to understand how a particular word, an expression, or a grammatical form is being used by large cross-sections of people and give acceptability even to certain minor deviation from the norm. But we don't find that they are doing this kind of an acceptance for deviance in terms of pronunciations. Maybe there is a case now. If the pronunciation of a particular word is consistently deviant from the native variety of pronunciation by a large cross-section of people, perhaps we can give it acceptance. For example, somebody was talking about petrol, fuel. If you have to pronounce these words this way like a native speaker, the person at the petrol bunk or some other person doesn't even understand what we are seeing, or he finds it strange. If he said fuel, if he said petrol, if there was enough intelligibility, then perhaps we can understand, agree, and gradually move over to native variety of pronunciations later. What do you think?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, definitely. I agree.
All right. What we are trying to say is, with respect to pronunciation, we need intelligibility first. At the same time, in the name of intelligibility, we need not be speaking a substandard variety of pronunciation. Our ultimate quest would be to speak which would be acceptable to native speakers as well. All right, now a question to Sweta. We all know that inhibitions in people in talking in public, talking in classrooms itself, becomes a big hindrance for their acquiring English language. Can you talk about what kind of inhibition generally students have?
Yes, sir. So, unlike reading, writing, and listening to in English, speaking in English involves the interplay of a lot of complex factors. You don't feel self-conscious when you read, listen to, and write because you're not tested as you do things. But when you're speaking, you're being judged as you speak, and you'll have to simultaneously, coherently think and constructively speak. And to attain this level of sophistication involves a lot of practice, and that doesn't come right away. So when people start out and they make mistakes, they feel embarrassed and they don't continue, even with their friends, not just in a public forum and before an audience. Even with their friends, they're discouraged to do so. And these
there is a fear. There's a fear of making a mistake.
Yes, sir.
So perhaps we have to help the learner not to have that fear.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Confidence and courage. And once one gets out of this fear, he'll be able to use the language. And errors are certainly common in the process of acquiring language. He might make a few errors initially, but he'll be able to scale over them in the course of time. Thank you. I think we are also running short of time. I'll be going a little bit faster. Today, technology has come to stay with us. I would like to ask Sanjana. Is Sanjana there? If Sanjana is not there, I think maybe there's some problem with our technology. We can ask Sweta, to what extent has technology been helpful in learning English?
So, technology as... Okay, Sanjana.
Sir, I'm very sorry, sir. I think I had a bit of a technical issue.
Yes.
Right time you had. We talked about technology and you had a technical problem.
I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Yes.
Would you like to answer that question?
Yes, sir. Sir, I think technology has been very, very helpful for me when it comes to learning English. Firstly, with the help of for vocabulary, for instance, whenever I come across a word that I'm unfamiliar with or that I hear during a conversation, I always make it a point to go and look it up on Google and I understand the meaning. And since I've already heard the word in its context, I think it makes it easy to remember. Secondly, I tend to use apps for vocabulary building and also apps to help improve my pronunciation. And apart from that, there are also movies and TV shows that I watch to understand, to get a deeper understanding of the language.
All right, technology can be productively used for enhancing your vocabulary, pronunciation, and other aspects of language. Thank you. Do you also think the same, Sweta?
Yes, sir. I feel the same. about whatever Sanju said. A lot of things that we couldn't have done a decade ago is now really easy to do so. And if you're really self-driven and motivated, technology is alone enough to get you to that language proficiency that you would like to attain.
Thank you. To what extent can technology be used in the classrooms?
Sir, I think technology can be widely used in classrooms with respect to presentations or group projects that the students can do with the help of technology. But I think technology also can be used only to a certain extent, because there is always the importance of the human touch cannot be underestimated.
Is technology used widely in our country in the classrooms for teaching English language?
Yes, sir, it's considerably used, sir, and
Okay.
I think it's used to the right amount.
All right. Now, Sweta, you have been an independent learner with a strong drive and motivation. I would like to ask you about the relationship between one's personality traits and his ability to acquire spoken English.
So, yeah, sir, personality traits have got a lot to do with it. You know, we've already talked about confidence that one should have to persevere through the hurdles that will come before them in the process of learning. And that comes under personality. And a confident learner will learn it quicker. And apart from confidence, the charisma also comes into play, and it comes into personality trait. You might have the best grammar and you could use the most fancy words to talk, but if you're not able to put across your idea in the way that will the audience will understand and connect with, then you wouldn't be considered as a person with good communication abilities. So having confidence and charisma has got a lot to do with how people perceive you as a person with good communication abilities.
So our English teachers have got the role of helping the learner to develop his confidence and courage in the class apart from teaching English language.
Yes, sir. They should, definitely.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Please, we have to conclude now.
All right. Okay. We have to conclude now. So what I would do will be to take a recap of whatever we have said now. At the primary and secondary levels of education, English is mostly taught like a subject. Learners do not know the purpose of learning English, nor is there an environment in the classroom for language acquisition. Students score marks easily and hence develop a false attitude to learning to speak in English. Second point made was spoken English can be improved only by speaking in a meaningful context and a natural environment. We look up to teachers who can create this. Thirdly, we talked about language learning is a lifelong process. Learners with higher language ability should be taken to further higher levels. We also said films and other TV shows with subtitles greatly help in the improvement of vocabulary and pronunciation. Individual motivation is very crucial to improving language traits. And mixed ability classes are certainly, they are both a boon and a bane. As a boon, they provide models to emulate or imitate. At the same time, they are a bane because students with lower proficiency levels tend to withdraw and psychologically feel upset looking at his counterparts who are far above him. Students learn from a lot of fun activities, competitions, and so on. So giving them certain positions of authority in the colleges definitely enhance their leadership qualities, courage alongside language traits too. Technology is very useful to improve one's language. Confidence is more important for communication than vocabulary, pronunciation, and so on. Confidence building activities are most welcome in the class. When students are given positions of authority in extracurricular activities and things like that, they develop confidence. Loud reading also has a place. It helps in improving one's pronunciation and fluency. Watching films has been talked about. And this is a point which we did not touch, so we will not talk about this now. Thank you very much for the patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you,
all.
sir.
Thank you very much for a very interactive, very vibrant and lively session, Honorable Thiru sir, Sanjana and Shweta. Really, it was a pleasure to listen to you. The representation from rural and urban area, their problems and the solutions provided by or suggested by the students, the promising students most importantly, the students' perspective and how a student can teach the fellow students, the classmate, I think there is a better communication between students and students than between a teacher and student because of phobia or because of the gap and so many other things. But the students bridge the gap amongst the students and they can facilitate better learning experience there. And again, how the digital divide can, that particular gap can be narrowed, bridged. That is how you focus towards the end of your talk. And Shweta and Sanjana really rocked. And Thiru sir, you are a wonderful teacher who has empowered these two girls. And when we see the girls coming out and getting empowered, definitely we'll see a very, very bright future for India. And as you said, that English is there for so many years, but the phobia has been there. And I think our focus has to be on communication. If we speak English to express ourselves and not to impress, then definitely so many problems will definitely be solved. So irrespective of our origin, our background, if it is rural or tribal or even urban, makes no difference when you have a strong willpower. And that's why we see Sanjana and Shweta from various backgrounds studying in the same college under the same teacher, and today having this debate and discussion here on this very great platform of LTI. Thank you very much for a very, very interactive session, Thiru sir, Sanjana and Shweta. We really enjoyed, and I hope all the participants also enjoyed it a lot. There are some questions, and I request the participants to ask some questions in the chat box. Professor P.N. Ramani has asked, if the environment is such a crucial and critical factor in acquiring fluency in spoken English, and if a conducive and facilitative environment could be provided by teachers, does it really matter whether the students study in rural or urban schools and colleges? Over to you, Thiru sir.
Does anyone of you want to answer the question, Shweta or Sanjana? The question is, if environment is very important to facilitate students to improve their fluency in spoken English, should there be a difference? Really, there should be a difference between the rural and urban schools or areas?
Yes, sir, I can answer for this. So, if we can attain that level wherein their home, the environment at home and their peer group outside of school wouldn't matter as much, and if teachers could encourage enough to, for students to communicate between themselves very, very well in English, then it wouldn't matter. But as of now, I don't think the rural area schools have attained that. So the influences outside of school and teachers would definitely matter. And yeah, so there's a lot to strive towards that level where it doesn't matter, but as of now it does.
So the environment in the rural schools needs to be enhanced by creating better infrastructure, also quality faculty. And urban schools have also got the advantage of a cosmopolitan kind of students. So if the rural areas can replicate these features, then there will be no divide. But as of now, there is a big divide because of lack of infrastructure, lack of faculty to the extent the trained ones that we find in the urban areas. Therefore, I think answering Mr. Ramani, I think the environment is different between rural and urban areas, and we wish in the near future this difference fades out and we have similar environments in both these places.
Thank you, sir. Next question is to Sanjana. What exactly would you call as the native variety of language?
Okay, so when I said native variety of language, I mean native speakers, say in the US, who have been speaking English all their life, who have where English is the language that they speak at home, that is in a way their mother tongue. Although India also has English spoken vastly, we do have a lot of other languages as well, and there are people who are fluent in several languages. And by native speaker, I meant people who predominantly speak in English. So I think that's something we should. That's not. I mean, we don't necessarily have to speak that way, but it's something we can strive towards. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Himanshu. Do you think the hesitation of students in the classroom is a big hindrance?
The hesitation.
Yeah.
Yeah. They are hesitating to participate in the class. Definitely it is a hindrance because we pointed out that students learn from interaction. Students learn from producing the language. Students learn from language activities in the class. They are in the class where they have to be exposed to language and they have to use the language rather than learn about the language like a theory class. Hesitation will come in the way of all these functions in the classroom. So therefore, it is definitely a hindrance. If that is what we mean by hesitation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Next question is from Sarita. In the classroom, it takes no such time to get students to talk and use English. How to speed up?
How to speed them? How to make them? It takes a long time to open up the students in the class. Is that what we? Is that the question?
Yeah. How to speed up the things?
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very good question. Students are slow for several reasons. One is perhaps lack of enthusiasm in the task. Sometimes we do find students rush forth with lots of answers if they're enthusiastic about it. I think it is up to us to the enthusiasm of the students and make them speed up their questions. The reason why they're not speeding up is perhaps because they do not have the language enough to ask the questions. If we create an environment where they can ask the questions bilingually, if necessary, if they cannot completely talk in English, if you allow that and make that something normal in the classroom, we have noticed that students do come up a little faster to ask questions. So we have to do things to shed their inhibitions and fear. If they're not coming up to ask questions, means something is suppressing them. We have to find out what really suppresses them, and that particular reason must be curbed.
Thank you very much, sir. What is the role of good pronunciation in English language fluency?
Would you like to answer this, Sanjana or Sweta?
Yes, sir, sure. I think good pronunciation definitely wins over the admiration of the listener. I think when we pronounce correctly, we definitely that definitely suggests that we have a deeper insight and a better understanding of the language. And yes, sir, I think that's what I think pronunciation does.
Thank you. They were asking about the relationship between pronunciation and fluency. Fluency, as we understand, is spontaneous flow of words without hesitation, without repetition, without any hindrances. If the pronunciation is not okay, if our pronunciation goes thud, naturally the flow of language is affected. It affects the fluency. I would think that pronunciation plays a very major role in the fluency of speech of a particular person. For lack of fluency, he would definitely be not able to speak continuously. Fluency would just mean one is able to get a free flow of thoughts, and without any interruptions, he's able to carry on speaking. And lack of good pronunciation will make him hesitate, will make him stop, will make him go back in what he had said. He'll repeat himself. All that will amount to lack of fluency.
Thank you very much, sir. Your students and you all have satisfied us a lot. It was really a wonderful session. The questions were answered in a wonderful manner, satisfying manner, excellent manner. And the way the students have put forth their views, have answered the questions, that presence of mind, that understanding, that maturity, that is really praiseworthy. And I hope the students who are attending this webinar, this session, will definitely be benefited by the students' perspective also. If we teachers follow Thiru sir's way, giving tasks and more opportunities and platforms to the students, avail the opportunities and platforms, then definitely we all will be able to speak accurately and fluently in the near future. So thank you very much, sir. And thank you very much, Shweta and Sanjana, for your very wonderful, vibrant participation.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Dr. Vaibhav.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
It was an excellent opportunity for us.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having us.
We all enjoyed, and I hope all the participants also thoroughly enjoyed this session. Now, for the formal vote of thanks, may I please request my dear friend Shankar Kumar. Over to Shankar Kumar, sir, for vote of thanks.
Yeah, very good evening to all the participants and the speakers for the day. Yeah, it's my great pleasure in proposing the vote of thanks formally from LTI. I'm very much happy to propose my vote of thanks to Professor Thiru Venkatasamy, Professor of English from SSN College of Engineering, Chennai, and the two student speakers, Ms. Shweta and Ms. Sanjana, for having made this day very wonderful. And thank you so much. And I thank all the office bearers of LTI, specifically for having culminated their ideas to start up this kind of event to happen specifically for betterment of the students. Thank you so much. I'm very much grateful to the participants who have actively participated and shown a lot of interest and expressed a lot of queries from the students' perspective in the chat box. Thank you so much. Without you, this program would not have been a great success. And I thank Dr. Vaibhav from the President Kandesh chapter who have moderated the session. And finally, I thank everyone for their active participation. And there is an announcement for that next week literature webinar, number 26. It's on textual appreciation from stylistics to critical stylistics by Dr. Anandya Syam Saudri from Assam University. The session is going to be moderated by Dr. K. Shyam Sundar and Mr. A. Lawrence Raj from LTI Hyderabad South Chapter. We welcome all the participants to share this information and register to this program. Thank you, one and all. Have a great day.